Hasbro is an American multinational toy and board game company founded in 1923, headquartered in Rhode Island, one of the largest toy company in the world. With the belief that interactive games had a brilliant future, a new subsidiary called Hasbro Interactive was formed in 1995. Hasbro Interactive was created as an independent division led by Tom Desenbury, and began to aggressively expand in his endeavor. Unfortunately, problems began to exist. First, communication issue. Desenbury made all decisions from operations, product selections, to partnership agreements. He directly reported to Hasbro Vice Chair Sonny Gordon. Under Desenbury's leadership, Hasbro personnel ceased to consult with headquarters either. Without adequate interaction between subsidiaries, decision conflicts arose. Second, motivation issue. The impact of issuing options to employees was greed. Employees became solely motivated by the instrumental rewards of the options. Recruitment became overwhelmed by applicants who wanted to make money out of the options, instead of those chasing their passions in the gaming industry. Third, ethical issue. There was controversy between investment and loss among Hasbro executives. Executives started to simplify decisions and consequences, ignoring probability of failures and thinking little of the employees.
Now let's look at the main characters. Desenbury was an ambitious rising star. Over the course of his career, he had been promoted several times. He was widely recognized for his expertise and experience in the gaming business. He was strongly open to experience, extremely ambitious and aggressive to strive for massive success. He was also a charismatic and inspiring extrovert, a talented visionary, proficient at activating others' enthusiasm for futuristic ideas. However, Desenbury's strong openness to experience and extroversion led him to make most impulsive and risky decisions. He was over-optimistic in accelerating Hasbro's growth through expansion and acquisitions without a realistic budget plan. Desenbury's consistently rosy projections, even in the face of bad news, eventually cost him his credibility. During the slump of Hasbro, his low agreeableness and conscientiousness were revealed. He rejected others' conservative advice, and was in constant denial of the cruel truth. Baum was hired by Hassenfeld to counterbalance Desenbury's power in Hasbro Interactive. Yet, he was an agreeable person, often going with Desenbury's flow. Unlike other characters, he was an introvert and had little socialization with the rest. Although he did not show any antagonistic feeling towards Desenbury, he was obsessed with power and control, which led to his leave. Alan Hassenfeld. Hassenfeld was the CEO of Hasbro, who made important decisions and recruitments. He was emotionally stable, and highly agreeable even at times of adversity. He was understanding and supportive to Desenbury, even when Desenbury's capability was questioned by others. He was able to face the truth of failure even when Desenbury was still in denial. When Desenbury decided to leave, he still refrained from anger and tried hard to keep him. Hassenfeld was very conscientious. He did not avoid admitting mistakes after he felt wrong, empowering Baum. Now let's look at Al Verrecchia. Verrecchia was promoted from the position of senior executive to CFO and eventually became the CEO in 2003. Verrecchia was not a very agreeable person. He once expressed his strongest opposition to the insufficient financial monitoring system under Desenbury's leadership. Unlike Desenbury, Verrecchia was not particularly open to experience either. He had always maintained a conservative approach of business. Verrecchia was highly conscientious about the ethical concerns in risky decisions. He was more capable to separate emotional decisions with strategies. Let's move on to Jackie Dyer. Jackie was a senior financial executive at Hasbro. She implemented an exacting financial system to Hasbro Interactive, which was not welcomed by employees. Hence, Jackie was a divisive influence. She was not an agreeable person, and always dared to bring negative information into full view. Miss Dyer was also a neurotic. She was more prone to conflicts and less able to resolve them. Even with a great desire to lead, she was always conscientious, and never seek to verify her self-concept via the superficial concept of success.
So, what are the psychological implications behind all the problems and different personal traits? First, the odd of power dynamics. Dusenberry's soft power of expertise has been influential. Initially, Hasenfeld and Baum were strongly and emotionally identified with Dusenberry's beliefs of strategic expansion and charismatic leadership. Unfortunately, they were making a fundamental attribution error. They overestimated the impact of Dusenberry's personal disposition on the company's success and failure. Essentially, they have overlooked the influence of the uncontrollable force and situational risks in the external environment. Second, the complexity of team dynamics. There was a strong group favoritism within Hasbro Interactive. Under Dusenberry's charismatic leadership, even the very conservative and risk-adverse Verrecchia was initially strongly identified with Dusenberry. But why? Verrecchia was likely to feel excessive mental stress and discomfort holding contradictory beliefs of himself and Dusenberry. A psychological phenomenon called cognitive dissonance. Such psychological tension and distress could be intensified as he faced pressure from the majority. Like every human being, Verrecchia had the need for relatedness and acceptance. In order to bring cognitions in line with one another and fit into majority view, he subconsciously internalized Dusenberry's values into his own values system. Hasenfeld and Verrecchia were further blinded by their confirmation bias. The act of only seeking information and ambiguous evidence that confirms their internalized beliefs, the rarity of information sharing, further intensified the tendency of confirmation bias, and increased the pressure for in-group conformity. Third, the destructive power of controlled motivation. Incentives and rewards increased the frequency of desired behavior, especially in a masculine and individualistic culture. The issue of option bonus created sensitivity to gain versus non-gain. However, did Hasbro Interactive's remuneration package really work to stimulate desired behavior among employees? Employees started to throw the options around, while Dusenberry committed more resources to reach his goals. Greed became the mentality. After all, were employees really happy? If employees were truly satisfied about the extrinsic rewards, why would they fail to maintain good performance and produce profits? The answer is no. The performance-oriented culture contributed to a controlled motivation that deprived employees autonomy and their healthy identification of self-values. Employees stopped to work for passion and interest, and only identified self-worth with performance and monetary reward. Furthermore, Maslow's hierarchy of needs specifies that physiological and security needs are the fundamentals of human organism. These needs and drives of those in individualistic societies, like the America, tend to be more self-centered. Hence, employees were threatened, after acquisition and layoff. The controlled motivation in a performance-based culture, together with the feeling of insecurity, has resulted in too much striving. People became too vulnerable to manipulation. Fourth, the distortion of morals. Given his recognition in the gaming industry, Tom's illusion of superiority, and self-serving bias, became destructive. His mentality was further empowered by his confirmation bias. He only sought information from people, such as Baum, who identified with him, and disregarded all negative feedback. Dusenberry was distorted by the need to protect his ego from threat and injury. His quitting at the end further confirmed that he displaced his moral obligation to fate. The ethics of deontology can further elaborate on that. Deontology derives the rightness from the character of the behavior per se, rather than the outcomes of the behavior. Deontologists would argue that good intention is the basis of morality, and that the ends do not always justify the means. Hence, Dusenberry's duty was more than earning money, it's also about flourishing employees' talents, maintaining their mental health, and securing them from layoff. Dusenberry was unethical, since he oversimplified his intentions and decisions, focusing too much on the ultimate result.
Now let's look at some possible solutions for Hasbro to address the issues. The top priority for Hasbro is to assign a new or temporary president from the headquarters, to retain the insecure employees, who might think that Hasbro is closing down. During uncertainty, feeling of security and foreseeable directions will increase either job satisfaction and motivation, keep employees satisfied and motivated at a high level. Second, it is vital for Hasbro to implement training programs, in order to enhance employees' retention and development. Due to the different level of employees' skills and capabilities, a skill assessment on interactive gaming development is necessary to evaluate employees' competencies. Based on the outcomes, staff with similar level will be allocated into the same team. Trained employees can eventually replace the use of outside workers. Essentially, training can modify the characteristic of the workforce, increase productivity, avoid miscommunication between non-proximate colleagues. In addition, training promotes cooperation, information sharing, and in-group identity among team members. It also fulfills employees' relatedness and social needs. Third, it is important for Hasbro to modify its performance management and reward system, to reduce the use of controlled motivation, and focus on delivering autonomous motivation. A 360-degree feedback system could be adopted. It will enable employees to gain understanding about themselves, tracking their performance and monitor intrinsic gains. Cognitive dissonance will be resolved by aligning their values. As Hasbro focuses on more humanistic management, employees will feel recognized and valued by management. Additionally, employees will be enforced to first consult big issues, such as budget planning with Hasbro executives, then given freedom to propose realistic and creative ideas. Giving employees both direction and freedom could enhance their job satisfaction and autonomous motivation. They feel trusted and empowered, leading to exceptional job performance.
We hope that we provided some insightful thoughts. Final note: don't tell people how to do things, tell them what to do and let them surprise you with the results. Thanks. Bye.